Buenos dias. Good morning. My name is Robert Held, H-E-L-D, and I filed a lawsuit reluctantly against the Village of Broadview in order to sustain the rights of ordinary Americans to exercise their First Amendment rights at other than the hours that have been dictated by the mayor of Broadview. Right now, there's an executive order that's in force that restricts protest in this area at the immigration detention facility to the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. That executive order and those restrictive hours violate the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. It unreasonably prevents individuals that are working traditional business hours from exercising their First Amendment rights for most of every weekday. My hope and expectation is that a federal judge will sustain the rights of ordinary working people to exercise their First Amendment rights at other than the restricted hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. My lawyer is appearing on my behalf in federal court seeking a preliminary injunction. That preliminary injunction seeks to enjoin the Village of Broadview and the police authorities from enforcing the executive order. I would be happy to take any questions or continue to speak about the atrocity and the inhumane conditions at the detention facility behind me.
You said you're an attorney, correct?
I am an attorney.
Okay, is there any organization you want us to put who you're with, a law firm or anything? Or?
No, I filed the lawsuit individually.
Individually, okay.
As a citizen who's concerned about the restriction on our First Amendment rights. And my First Amendment rights, I would like to note, is the same First Amendment that protects the rights of journalists, such as yourselves.
And the hearing is not till the 24th, correct? That's next court hearing.
Correct. The judge ordered the parties to brief the issues raised in the motion for a preliminary injunction, and that hearing will be on November 24th.
Yeah. Anything else you want people to know when they see this at home?
What I want people to know is that while sustaining our First Amendment rights are critical, what's most important is the detainees that are being held in the facility behind me. What several federal judges have determined is that the predicate for Operation Midway Blitz is false, and that is that the government cannot pick up undocumented individuals without probable cause or a warrant. And that's exactly what Gregory Bovino and the federal agents have been doing. They've been detaining people without probable cause and without a warrant. And Judge Cummings has ruled that that conduct violates a prior consent decree and is a violation of the law. Judge Cummings ordered that at least 615 detainees be released from what the judge called a prison, where detainees are being kept in inhumane conditions without access to water, to food, to medical attention, to feminine hygiene products, and they're being forced to sleep next to overflowing toilets in crowded conditions. All of this after having been illegally detained by federal agents. The constitutional violations are numerous, and they're apparently continuing. And the constitutional violations are so bad that a federal magistrate judge is going to appear and inspect that facility herself today. I guess I want to emphasize that our constitutional rights don't check out at the end of the business day. our constitutional rights are not from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I hope that ultimately the mayor of Broadview, Mayor Katrina Thompson, and a federal judge will very quickly recognize that the executive order was unconstitutional and can be amended so that ordinary citizens can exercise their constitutional rights at other than between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., which is the current restriction.
Thank you, that works for me.
Anybody else? Questions? I want to emphasize that the First Amendment is something that doesn't have a time clock on it. And for you journalists that were part of one of the lawsuits pending before federal court, the federal judges have sustained your rights as well as individual protesters. My final statement is that I hope that Governor Pritzker can join the protesters out here, because his absence from this site is telling. We're at a defining moment for a generation. Where we are right now defines what our nation is going to look like, how we treat immigrants, whether we facilitate and sustain the rights of protesters to exercise their First Amendment rights. The time is now, and my hope and expectation that Governor Pritzker will join us and bear witness to the atrocities and the inhumane conditions that federal judges have found in the facility behind me. It's not a processing facility as the federal government has called it. Rather, one judge called it a prison. The allegations are that the conditions there, and the eyewitness accounts are that the conditions there are simply inhumane. This is about the dignity and rights of everyone. And finally, for those that think that the Constitution applies to only citizens, that's wrong. That's not true. And Supreme Court justices and scholars alike have said that our First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights apply to people. To people. It's not restricted to citizens. And finally, when those in the Trump administration use words that are designed to mislead the public, it's horrible. And so you, as journalists, have probably heard the phrase criminal, illegal, alien. I'm not an immigration lawyer, but I have common sense, and I know what words mean. And almost everybody that's been detained is not a criminal, and they're not illegal. They may be an alien, but that doesn't make them a criminal. And it turns out that our immigration laws, and for almost everybody that's being detained, they haven't committed a crime. What this administration needs to understand, and Gregory Bovino needs to understand, it is not a crime to be in this country without documentation. It is a civil wrong. And to call someone who's here, who is undocumented, a criminal, or call them illegal, does nothing to advance the policy changes that are needed to have a rational immigration approach to the millions of people that are here without documentation, but who are contributing to our economy, who are raising families, who are abiding by our laws. And it's really disgusting to hear Kristi Noem and her spokesperson, Ms. McLaughlin, use the words that are demeaning, derogatory, and inappropriate, because, as I said, to be in this country without documentation is a civil wrong. Repeat for emphasis, it is not a crime to be in this country without documentation. It is a civil wrong. And when Gregory Bovino and the Border Patrol and his deputy David Kim and their federal agents with masks on and powerful weapons go into our community, go into our neighborhoods, they need to either have a warrant or have probable cause. What we saw in recent days, where agents have maced a small child, is horrible. That's not the America that we know and love. They don't represent ordinary people who want laws to be followed, but also want due process rights and our government to follow the law and follow the Constitution. Thank you.
Could you say and spell your name again?
H-E-L-D. Held. Robert Held.
Robert.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, there goes the black cat.
There he goes. Now we're all in trouble.
Yeah. What's that now?
Are we expecting somebody else?
No. Not till 10 o'clock or something. Judge?
Jail shot, all done.
She did. She just said whatever judge. I didn't read that.
When's your next day?